Solon Simmons is a professor at George Mason University and the author of The Eclipse of Equality, Arguing America on Meet the Press. He joins us this morning from Washington. Good morning.
Good morning.
So the home stretch, indeed, they're both predicting that they're each going to win. What do you expect in this last day of campaigning?
Well, it's funny that they're each predicting that, and it sounds as if they're equally confident, but in fact, the way that you play this last bit of the game is by showing exactly the opposite of what you would do leading up to a debate, is you play the expectations game, trying to get a bandwagon going. So both campaigns acting as if they're just going to clear the table and pull 300 electoral votes. So you only need 270 to win. It really looks like the president is ahead here, though, and he's ahead here both in the popular vote now, which was not always true. Remember, this is an election not only for the proportion of the votes nationwide, but also for the Electoral College. But also he's ahead, way ahead in the Electoral College. And I think that that's what's going to make this, what will drive this. He only has to carry Ohio, Wisconsin, and Iowa, that upper Midwest voter base, in order to clear the entire election. I think that that's a big strength of his, and he's really the favorite.
You know, neither the president nor Mitt Romney said that they wanted Sandy to be in any way political, in any way, shape, or form, that is. But inevitably, Sandy and how it was, you know, looked after, how it's continuing to be looked after in its aftermath, had to have an effect on the race.
Well, it did have an effect, I think, and it was predictable, and it was accentuated by the fact that Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey came out so strong for Obama. It really put politics aside and just focused on the victims. At the same time, there's something almost disappointing in this, in that the hurricane, when you're president, you get to do things that the other side just simply doesn't get to do. And in that sense, the president had a natural advantage. It's almost like in psychology, this fundamental attribution error. You attribute to the person things which are appropriate to the situation. And the situation just favors the president, and Mitt Romney had very little he could do except for collect food and try to distribute it to victims. So it really plays to the president's advantage, much like last time the financial crisis did.
Right, right. Well, okay, so I mean, this might seem ridiculous and highly improbable, but what if it's an exact tie?
Well, it could be an exact tie, and we've had a lot of fun playing around with this, and there are various kind of combinatorial patterns that allow this to happen. But if it's an exact tie, then it goes to the House, and the House gets to decide this. It's about delegations in the House. It's the states, again, who decide. Looks like Mitt Romney would win, and yes, that there's this tantalizing idea that the Senate being able to choose the vice president, as happened in 1824, could put Joe Biden in office. Very unlikely, I would imagine, to have a tie at this point. But it is interesting as well, if there is an electoral popular vote split, then maybe we could have a movement to try to deal with this electoral college, which, by the way, really does disenfranchise most Americans.
Yeah.
I live in a swing state, so I get all the advertisement. I feel like I'm empowered in this sense. But so many people have basically been left out of the process. Their votes simply don't matter. And by the way, their issues, therefore, don't play an important role, especially down the stretch. And that's an issue for democracy.
Well, so then let me ask you about some of the key, I guess, seats that you're interested in watching.
Yeah. So you mean in the Congress?
Yes,
or
in the House.
Yeah, well, in general, I mean, I'm fascinated to see what happens with some of these women's health races, some of the issues around rape were very concerning, and I think that we'll want to watch Aiken in particular and Missouri and see what happens there. Also, Wisconsin has a fascinating race around. There's the gay marriage debate going on, and there's an openly lesbian Senate candidate there in Tammy Baldwin. Will she be able to beat an old, entrenched, popular governor from the state from the 1990s, Tommy Thompson? That's going to be fascinating to watch as well. And also in Massachusetts, I'm going to be fascinated to see what happens in Massachusetts with Elizabeth Warren and what happens, whether that's Teddy Kennedy's old seat, and to see if she can take that back, which will bring a certain populist energy. So in a lot of these seats, signal where the country is headed, where the narrative and the conversation is headed. So those are things that we're going to want to watch as well. In the Senate, I think, is the most interesting piece. Also, Michelle Bachmann up in Minnesota toward Canada. She may well she'll probably win, but she may well lose, and that would say something about the Tea Party. It would be fascinating. Yeah, the Tea Party, yet again, the Tea Party having a big role in this. The Tea Party. Okay, Solon Simmons, thank you for joining us.